Joining us now on Northwest Sports Tonight, Bloodsport legend Frank Dux. And if you've seen the movie, you know it was based on his life and his challenges. And take us a little bit through that, because there's a lot of guys that watch that movie over and over because they love it so much.
Yeah, I think one of the most common questions I get is, was it real? And it was. Showtime actually did a special when it was first came out, where they actually showed the choreography of the film against the actual fight footage, which was kind of nice to see. Being the choreographer, I kind of kept the story true and pure that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing story, and what went on, and what possessed you to go and try and do this?
Well, you know, as a martial artist in those days, we didn't have very many venues to really test ourselves. And today, you see mixed martial arts present just about everywhere, and it was just the same spirit that you see today. Guys like Bob Sapp, why is he in the ring? You know, people who've trained, people who are competitive and work very hard at accomplishing a goal. They always want to be able to test themselves and see where they stand.
You know, since that movie came out, it was years ago, and you know, you start reading on the internet about Frank Dux, and you start to see guys starting to chip away at Frank and his reputation and try to, you know, degrade you. And so some of the things that go on now on the internet, they surprise you, don't they?
Oh, they're pretty shocking. But what's interesting is Forbes magazine did an article looking at trade libel, things like that. And they found that 60% of most trade libel occurring on the internet is all business related by your competitors. In my own case, you have like Wikipedia that won't even allow me to change it or correct it as something as innocuous as where I live. I live in Seattle. They have me in Woodland Hills. They wouldn't even allow that change to happen. And they use words like allegedly did this or allegedly did that, when in fact I did do it, established it. And they create controversy for the simple reason that the same guy who owns Wikipedia, Jimmy Wales, also owns another site called Sociocide and Bullshito.com, where they trash people or martial artists who are essentially their competitors, and I'm a competitor of theirs. And
well, one of the things they came out and said was that you made up your own trophy. And
yeah, that's one of the old things. What happened there was a Times reporter, or a guy who wanted to be on the Times, basically to sensationalize this story in order to sell press. And one of the things that's so ridiculous, the so-called, it was based on a receipt. And the receipt was dated, when it first appeared, it was 1982, but then they had a problem with that because I was in Black Belt magazine in 1980 with my trophy, and they were announcing I'd won the championship.
Right.
Okay, which of course they said there was no other evidence other than me saying I won it. So here's Black Belt magazine being ignored. Then on top of that, it was in my possession since 1976. And if you looked at the receipt, to show you how ridiculous it is and how on its face value it was worthless, is it's spelled D-U-K-E-S. And those who are familiar with me, even though my name is Dux and pronounced Dux, it is spelled D-U-X,
right,
which means the inscription would have been wrong.
Right.
Obviously.
Yeah.
So right there you got something.
Yeah, I mean, I know all that stuff irritates you because you've accomplished a ton in your career. Yeah. And, you know, they basically call you the godfather of mixed martial arts.
Yes.
I mean, so much you've accomplished, and now you're promoting some other things as well.
Yeah, I've just completed, like, working in Mongolia, studying a very ancient form of bandajo, which is a lost martial art, which I helped them preserve, and I'm trying to help document that. I completed a book called The Martial Art Bible, Secrets of Warriorship. It will be the first professional desk reference book for the professional martial artist. It'll be a compendium, if you will, of all the movements you could ever want to learn. So even if you're a neophyte in as far as martial arts goes, you can pick up this book and learn from knowing nothing as a novice all the way to becoming a grandmaster on your own, just from the book itself. And I did that primarily because my roots were very humble. One of the things that I think made me the godfather of mixed martial arts is I was too poor in those days to afford formal martial art lessons. And in those days, if you went and did Shotokan, that's all you could do. Or you did jiu-jitsu, that's all you could do. Your masters didn't want you to cross-train. And because I was poor, I would go from school to school to school, and I would be outside on the sidewalk. In fact, Bill Ryosaki, who was sidekick to Bruce Lee, very famous, would often raise his blinds because he knew I'd be out there and make sure I got my lesson, and I would practice right there on the sidewalk.
Wow.
And then when when he was getting an award one day, I was the actual person he asked to present him with it, which was a great honor for me, because here's a guy who helped, instill in me a whole new etiquette, a whole new way of thinking.
Yeah, that's a tremendous honor. We have video of you doing some of these things, and the busting the champagne bottles, and there's 3 major stunts on this video. Take us through it. Take us through how you just crushed the Jack Daniels right from the top to the bottom.
Well, what it is what people understand is it's really a test of physics at work. And if you really understand martial arts, it's not just about physical brute strength. There's a thing that people call chi, all right? But there's really 30 different kinds of chi, believe it or not. And what you do is you learn how to harness a certain amount of energy, and you basically channel the electrical conductivity within your body. It's actually charged. So when you make contact, there's almost a transfer of kinetic energy along with this electrical energy, and it literally causes the glass to expand and explode. But it has to be done so quick, and it has to be done in such microseconds that anything less than that, you lose the power, and that's what stops it from occurring.
You're the only one that has taken that from top of the bottle straight down to the bottom.
Yeah. In fact, if you were actually to take a look at it in slow motion, you'll notice that my hand is out of frame before the bottle is completed its explosion. To give you an idea of the speed my hand is traveling at.
How fast, man! And then the champagne bottles with your feet.
Yeah,
that's just amazing. You have to slow everything down that you do, Frank, so we can all get a look at it. But when you watch that in slow motion, it's unbelievable.
Well, the thing is interesting. The video that you saw, believe it or not, although it looks like regular speed, that is slow motion. That's the slowest setting, believe it or not. That's why you'll see my hands a blur, my feet are a blur. And what I'm doing is I'm using a single kick. I'm going to a front kick to break the champagne bottles. And then I take it up to what we call a hook kick high. So one's aimed at like groin height, the other one's aimed at head height. And I became famous for this because what would happen was I would kick low, a guy would try to low block me, I'd break his wrist or his arm because it'd be traveling so fast, and my leg would continue up and hit him on the head and knock him out. And I would do this in a jumping kick form, and sort of like the Lipizan, jump and kick, became famous. They gave me the nickname the Flying Horse, Fama, and that became my fight name for many years.
Lastly, we saw the bulletproof glass as well. I mean, you put your hand right through it.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people, try to guess at that. They say, oh, it wasn't a real bullet, but if you look at it carefully, you can see the bullet in the glass itself. It's still there, part of the wad. They shot it with a 9mm pistol. And we gave out every piece of the glass because it was held at Bercy Stadium at the International Martial Arts Festival in 1993. And we gave it out to all the journalists, and it was put on display. And I hit it so hard, to give you an idea, the steel frame that you see holding it, which is a 1/4 inch thick, was bent 1.5 inches back. So if you really pay close attention to the video, you can actually see the bend in the frame.
Yeah, I mean, the power is really just amazing. And
You're starting to see these mixed martial arts schools start popping up now, and you're going to see, I think, better skill sets being employed.
So you're happy with where it's going?
Yeah, I am. I think, though, that they need to develop a higher decorum. I'd like to see I think I'd like to see more etiquette brought back in a more moral turpitude laws put in effect. Some of these guys I don't think should be held up to be, idolized by young kids because they just lack the moral turpitude to be in that kind of position, just like you'd hold baseball players and football players up to the same kind of standards.
Yeah. All right, if I put a bottle out here today, could you bust it? When was the last time you did something that was pretty crazy? I know that was 15 years ago, but today you don't do any of this stuff anymore. No, you just try to stay in shape.
I retired. One of the reasons is in 1993, what people didn't know is my last hurrah in doing the break was I was suffering from 2 brain tumors from fighting in martial arts. And I ended up comatose as a result, eventually, from the brain surgery. And of course, you don't get to train for a year and a half, you're going to lose your edge.
Yeah.
And it's, 93, we're talking 2008, so some years went by. But I'll tell you what I will do. If you give me time, I'll go back and practice and see if I can do the death Death Strike, Dimmock, that everybody knows,
Yeah.
and Breaking the Bottom Brick and Leaving the Top One Intact, and I'll come back and I'll do it for you on the show.
That sounds awesome, man.
You want that?
Open invite, Frank.
All right,
Open
that's a
invite.
deal.
All right, thanks for coming on.